Darklings. So I had done an art show and tell for the first time somewhat recently, and because it was pretty well received, I figured I would try another one with another series of works that I am attempting to sell. And they all have a lower price than the previous set, but it's a different type of thing. So what they are little tiny ink drawings. So here's one. And I seriously got inspired to do these only because I saw these tiny frames. I saw a bunch of tiny frames and decided I'm going to do something ridiculous, which is do tiny drawings to put inside the tiny frames. So I don't necessarily have titles for any of these, aside from whatever I came up with to list them on Etsy. So you've got an androgynous looking boy with a cigarette and some fire in his hand. You've got a rather reaperish looking figure. It says death in time. I don't know how well these can read on camera. Hopefully they do. But I just sort of picked a bunch of different frames and then ended up doing a bunch of these drawings. Most of them are 2 inches by 3 inches, with maybe slight variations such as 2.5 by 3.5 or 3 by 3 or 2.5 by 3. And so they're all slightly just different. Some of them I drew to accommodate the frame, and sometimes I just picked the frame to accommodate the drawing. But I picked all the frames, put all the drawings onto a single sheet, and then ended up just coming up with them. This one's my personal favorite. And there will be clearer images of all of these on my Facebook. In addition, I will be taking better photographs that I can list so that you can get prints or bags or anything that you like based off of these through Redbubble. I've been trying to advocate the Redbubble more and more because I think that it offers a lot of products that I can't make on my own. So the main reason I'm not trying to explain any of these really is that none of them exactly have stories. I was sort of digging through the thousands upon thousands of reference images I keep on my computer and on my iPad, and just sort of kind of playing around and seeing what caught my eye and what would translate well to an ink drawing. And so none of them exactly have backgrounds or stories or mental processes. It's just sort of like automatic hand drawing. Most of it wasn't really associated with much of anything. So they just are what they are, and they aren't specific. They're pretty much anything that you might make of them. And that's the last one of them. So I've been asked about art supplies and whatnot on multiple other occasions. I know I did an art supply show and tell video, but for all of these I used pen and ink. So you can get pen quills like this at Michael's very cheaply. They're about $1.50. This is one of the smaller ones. I have a bunch of different sizes. This is just one of my preferred ones. And you can get different nib sizes, different nib shapes that can come up with different lines. And these are really good if you want to control line thickness, because the harder you press, the more the line's going to get bigger. But you can only pull, you can't push. So it's different than trying to work with like a regular just pen. And the preferred ink that I like to use is Speedball Super Black. And the main reason I like this stuff is, one, it is super black. It is the blackest black ink I've come across. For another, because it's acrylic based instead of water based, if I use it in conjunction with my watercolors, which I do a lot, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't smear or run or anything. It just stays right where it's supposed to stay. So this is what I inked my tarot deck with, which I'll talk about some other time. For those of you who've noticed, I've mentioned it on other social media. And I wanted to make sure that everything stayed nice and flat and bright and black, especially if I decided to run over it with watercolor. So this is the stuff I recommend. It's about $5 a bottle, but I ink a lot, so I go through about 2 of those bottles a year, and I know not everybody will go through quite that much. Anyway, this one's a little bit short, but I hope that you liked seeing these in video form, kind of get an idea of how small they are. I like drawing small, so I figured that it would be kind of entertaining. Anyway, till next time, Darklings.